Hi everyone, I'm Bia, and welcome back to Cardiac Radio for Teens. For those of you who don't know, Cardiac Radio for Teens is a place where teens can come together with other teens to learn about Spiritist teachings and topics in a way that is more relatable and makes more sense to us as teenagers in today's society. So here on Cardiac Radio for Teens, we have been reading through the Gospel together, going section by section, page by page, reading all the words to then going ahead and interpreting and putting it into our own words and seeing how that can relate to our own lives. Even if we don't have these big grand problems that these are applying to, there's always those little things, those little struggles that we have that we can apply these messages to do better, to become better people. So no matter what, there's always a message we can take out of it and bring to our daily lives so that we're better prepared, and when a big challenge does come, then we're prepared to tackle that one because we've been working on it already with little things. So not only is it important to read it and then on top of that actually understand the words, more important than that is putting those words into action. So that's what we want to make sure we do, but that's kind of an individual project, right? We can sit here and we can read this together and we can try and understand it together, but only you can prepare yourself with this knowledge, right? Can put these words into action. So that's a challenge for all of us, is to put these words into action into our daily lives, and we'll see great improvement. So for weeks, even months now, we've been reading through the section Blessed are the Afflicted, chapter 5 of the Gospel according to Spiritism. And this section, we've been on it for a while, but it kind of shows how important this topic is, right? Because every week we're talking about it. So that means every week we should be trying to put that into our daily lives. And maybe because it's so long, it's because people aren't doing that, right? They aren't realizing this in their daily lives. And we talked about how blessed are the afflicted is showing that we're blessed to have struggles, right? Even though we're suffering, even though we're going through hardships, we're blessed to have those because that's how we evolve. That's how we improve ourselves. If we didn't have those things, then we wouldn't be able to evolve as quickly or improve or learn, right? So we need these struggles. And people who don't have these afflictions, who seem like they're living a great life, eventually they're going to have to go through all the problems and all the struggles that we're going through. So we are blessed to have these afflictions. We are blessed to have these problems so that we may learn and grow from these situations. So last week, we were talking about voluntary trials. So we're talking about how we know that when we're in the spirit world, we reincarnate with set goals, right? Set things that we want to accomplish. And most of the times we choose some of them, but sometimes they're ones that are kind of assigned to us. Like, oh, you made this mistake, so you need to do this to fix it, right? You need to go back in this situation to fix that mistake. So usually it's kind of set up for us. But there's also, what we're talking about is voluntary trials, right? What if you suffer for other people? You're still making yourself suffer, but what if it's at the good of other people? And one of the main things we started talking about last week is how that's great, right? To help other people. Even though someone's going through a challenge, it doesn't mean, oh, God wanted to have them that challenge, so let me leave them to get through themselves. No. Sure, their challenge might be to get through that, but ours is to help one another, right? From our point of view of that person, our mission is to help one another and to help that person. So we should also do our best to try and help that person. And sometimes we do. Sometimes when it's a close one near us, we take on those struggles almost for the person, right? We volunteer ourselves to have those struggles to help them. Or sometimes we volunteer to give someone else everything, which might make us struggle, but we're helping that person. But the important part that we talked about last time is that God sees through everything, right? We can't hide behind anything. So we can't pretend that we're doing this thing good, so just so we seem good, just so we get praised, but in reality we have selfish intentions. So we need to truly be doing it from the kindness of our hearts and helping one another. And so we left off in the middle of this section. And since the Gospel according to Spiritism, even though it's not always questions, it is split up into little little subsections, like each paragraph has a number. So we left off at 29 in the in chapter 5 in the section voluntary trials. For one who finds they are tired of life, but who does not wish to extinguish it by their own hands, would they be wrong to seek death on a battlefield with the intention of making their death useful? So here they're saying is someone basically is over life. They don't want to have this life, but they understand that suicide is not good, not the way to go. So what if we maybe like went into the battlefield, right, became a soldier and then died in honor? And the spirits answered, whether a person kills himself or herself, or causes another to kill them, the intent is always to cut the thread of existence. Therefore, there is intent to commit suicide, even if there is no actual fact. The idea that this death would serve some purpose is mere illusion, just a pretext to cover up the act, and for the person to execute themselves in their own eyes. If they seriously wished to serve their country, they would do their best to stay alive, so they might be able to defend it, rather than seek death, because if they are dead, they can no longer be of help. Real devotion consists in not being afraid of death when it is a matter of utility, of facing danger, and when necessary, in sacrificing one's life without thinking about it. But in seeking death with a premeditatory intent, by exposing oneself to risk, even if it were in service, annuls all the merit for the action. St. Louis. So here again, it goes back to our intent, right? If we go off and we want to give back to our community and we want to serve in the military, right, in some type of force, and we want to go and show our gratitude for our community, or we want to help our community defend it, and we end up dying, that's one thing. But if we have that mental state, that thinking, that we're thinking, oh, if I do this, then maybe I'll die, which is what I want, then you have that intent, right? You're only doing that because you think that will happen. So even though that's not the situation, even though they can die in battle and someone else killed them, that was still their intent. And when we're truly thinking of what we should be doing, we want to be helping others, right? Like they said, to have merit is not just in dying, right? It's not just going to a battle and dying. We want to stay alive so that we can continue to help our community and continue to serve that community. That's how we would truly show thanks. And yes, some people are going to die, but the main thing is that they're trying to stay alive, right? They're trying to continue to defend the country, not trying to just give up and die right there. And even as meritful as it seems, God sees right through that again, right? So even though people will be like, oh, he died in honor, but you may be hiding your intents from those people, but we can't hide it from God, right? So that's what we need to keep in mind. It's our intent behind all of our actions, and we can't hide that, right? We can't hide if we're doing it for selfish reasons. If a person exposes himself or herself to imminent danger in order to save the life of a fellow being, knowing that they would succumb, will this act be considered as suicide? So now it's saying, okay, there's a danger, right? And someone dies in order to save someone else or other people. So, but knowing that they're going to die, then is this act suicide? And the Spirit said, if there is no intent to seek death in this act, then there is no suicide, only devotion and abnegation, even though there is a certainty of death. But who can be sure? Who can say that Providence has not reserved an unexpected means of salvation at the last moment? Is it not possible even to save one who is before the cannon's mouth? On many occasions it happens that Providence wishes to take a trial of resignation to the extreme limits, in which case, as an unexpected circumstance will ward off the fatal blow. So here they're saying that again, it's about our intentions. If our intentions are just saving other people, just like when we see in these situations about shooters and these big groups of people, right? Or in schools, and the teacher goes and jumps right in front of all the children so that the children don't get hit. And yes, in reality, that teacher or that person knows that death is coming for them, but they're doing it selflessly. They're doing it for other people. They're not doing it for themselves, right? They're doing it for the children of the other people there. Or when we see when soldiers, say there's a grenade or a bomb or something like that, and someone jumps on top of it so it doesn't go on anyone else, right? They know the danger, but they're thinking about others first. And maybe they're saying maybe they won't, right? Maybe they won't die because Providence, like they said, has a way that they can, at the last second, maybe that circumstance might change, right? Maybe they'll get out of that situation. Maybe it won't end in death. But it's all the intent, right? It's all if we're thinking, oh, this is my chance to die, or if we're thinking, let me help these people, let me save these people right now. And we can hide that intent from everyone else, but we can't hide it from God. Do not those who accept suffering with resignation, because they are submissive to God's wishes, and are mindful of their future happiness, work only for their own benefit? Is it not possible for them to make their suffering useful to others? Materially and morally, these sufferings may be useful to others. In a material sense, by the work, privations, and sacrifices they impose upon themselves, which can contribute to the material well-being of their fellowmen. In the moral sense, by the example they offer of their submission to God's will. By showing the strength of the Spiritist faith, many unfortunate and wretched people can be induced to resign themselves, so being saved from despair and its disastrous consequences in the future. St. Louis, Paris, 1860. So now they're saying, so someone who does have this understanding, right, who's suffering but realizes the future, realizes what else is coming, and faces that with strength, can that suffering be put to good use and like to help other people? And they said, yeah, materially and morally, right? Materially, like they said here, we can contribute to material well-being of their fellowmen, right? So we can help other people to learn and grow, even if it's our mistakes. But us being strong through our struggles can be an example to those around us, right? In the material sense or in the moral sense, right? Showing that we understand God's will and that we're going to try our best to do our best. And that's important because we can't force people to do what we're doing. We can't be like, oh my God, I learned this. Like, we have to keep going through our struggles because that's how we improve. Some people aren't going to believe, right? They're not going to believe it right away just like that from you saying it. But if you lead by example, that will make an impact to them. So we have to work on ourselves, right? And improve ourselves. And by doing that, we'll be able to help the people around us, right? Be a role model for those people around us. And so that is the end of chapter 5, which was Blessed are the Afflicted. And now we're going to start chapter 6, which is Christ the Consoler. And the first section is titled, The Gentle Yoke. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you, and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy, and my burden is light. Matthew 11:28-30. So, again, how this part works is that they're getting these sections from the Bible, right? That Jesus said that, like in this case, that Matthew wrote down what Jesus said. And these sections are in the Bible, and we're going to see how that kind of translates to what we're learning in Spiritism and how that relates. Because oftentimes people read the Bible and they're confused because there are a lot of stories and parables to try and make sense for the people at that time, right? The people at the time needed really simple stories and explanations, but now we're going into a more in-depth explanation of that quote that Jesus originally said. All sufferings such as miseries, deception, physical pain, and loss of loved ones will find consolation from faith in the future and from confidence in God's justice, all of which Christ came to teach humanity. On the other hand, for those who expect nothing after this life, or who simply doubt, afflictions will seem heavier to them, as they do not have any hope of mitigating their bitterness. This is what prompted Jesus to say, "Come to me, all who are weary, and I will give you rest." So right there, they're bringing up the first part of that quote that says, "Come to me," right, "who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." So if we're following what Jesus says, right, we'll get that rest, because again, if you're thinking only about this life, you're seeing these struggles as never ending and with no purpose, right, with no goal, with no future goal at the end. But when we're learning from Jesus's words, we're seeing, okay, there's more, right? There's more for us. There's more that we're meant for. So this struggle that we're going through right now, it's so little, right? So yeah, we're weary and yeah, we're burdened. But if we go to Jesus, if we follow Jesus' words, we'll have rest, right? And that doesn't mean, oh, these struggles are going to go away. But we're going to have that, the tools we need to face those challenges, to face those struggles and overcome them. Meanwhile, the assistance and happiness promised to the afflicted depend on one's condition, which is to be found in the law he taught. His yoke is the observance of this law, but the yoke is light, and the law gentle, because it only imposes love and charity as its obligations. So when he's saying his yoke and the learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. Then he says, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light. So what that means is that come to me, I'll help you, because what I'm going to give you, right, it's light, like it's light and gentle, because we're talking about love and charity, right? That's the law. That's it. Like, it's not these complicated rules. It boils down to love and charity. So that's what he said. The yoke, it's easy, it's light, it's something that should be natural for us, right? It's not all these rules. Okay, now to get over this struggle, you need to do this, all these things. No, we need to, if we have love and charity as our main focus, right, that we're trying to focus on, that will help all the other struggles and all the other things we are going through. And it's that easy, but in reality, it's hard for us to do that, right? To just completely follow this. So, and that's why we need to read through this. That's why we need to be reminded of this. So now we can think, oh yeah, you're right, love and charity, and now put that into our daily lives. And that's how we're going to make an improvement, make a change. Then the next section is the promised consoler. If you love me, you will keep my commandments. And I will ask the Father, and he will give you another consoler, to abide with you forever, the Spirit of truth, whom the world cannot accept, because it neither sees him nor knows him. But you will know him, for he lives with you, and will be in you. But the Consoler, which is the Holy Spirit, whom the Father will send in my name, will teach you all things, and will remind you of everything I have said to you. John 14:15, 17, and 26. So here he's saying that there's, right, like Jesus was our consoler. He came to say, okay, follow love and charity, follow these things, and you will get through these struggles that you're going through. And he's saying, then he was like, he knew he was going to be gone soon, and he said, God will give you another consoler, right? Another person, and it is the Spirit of truth. So you're not going to see a physical person, you're not going to hear from a physical person, but you always have those teachings, right? You always have that truth with you, right? and remind us of everything that Jesus said, right? That reminder, because Jesus told us all these things. We just have to be reminded of them. Like right now, right? We're being reminded of these teachings, and we're being like, oh yeah, right, we know that, we should be doing that. And now this week we should go and put those into our lives. And that is what the Spirit of Truth is doing, right? Reminding us, oh yeah, remember that thing that Jesus said, love and charity, you can do that too, and put that into our lives. Jesus promised another consoler, the Spirit of Truth, which the world did not yet know because it was not sufficiently mature to be able to understand. This is the consoler sent by the Father to teach mankind all things and to call to mind all that Christ has said. Therefore, if the Spirit of Truth was to come at a later date to teach you these additional matters, then it would become Christ had not told everything. If the Spirit of Truth was to come to remind us of what Christ had said, that is because it has been forgotten or not properly understood. So again, the Spirit of Truth is the consoler, right? To remind us of all that Jesus said, and to, like I said, teach mankind all things, right? To learn all these things, because it's not, if the Spirit of Truth came incarnated to to teach us more stuff, then that means that Jesus didn't teach us everything. But we know Jesus taught us everything, right? He needed to teach us. Everything that we needed to know, Jesus taught us. And they're saying if the Spirit of Truth is coming to remind us of what Jesus said, then that's because we didn't understand it properly the first time, or we forgot it, right? And we do when we're going about our lives. Like we say, we're going about our day-to-day lives, or in school, we're at work, we're doing whatever we're doing, and we forget these things. And that's a problem, but we all do it, right? We forget these things. So it's important that we start seeing this, right? And seeing this little message and saying, okay, this week I'm gonna put this into my daily life, and try and put that and try and think about that throughout the week and have that with us, because we forget, right? We forget, we move on. People nowadays are going so fast, moving so fast, that they learn something 1 second and then move on the next, right? So we need to stop and process it and try and really put it into our lives so that we don't just forget it, right? And then have to relearn it over and over again. Spiritism has come at the predicted time to fulfill Christ's promise. Presided over the Spirit of Truth, it calls humanity to observe the law and reveal all manner of things, so making understandable what Jesus has said only in parable form. Christ himself had given the warning, "Listen, all those who have ears to hear." Spiritism has come to open man's eyes and ears because it speaks without figuration or allegory, so lifting up the veil which had been intentionally cast upon certain mysteries. Finally, then it has come to bring supreme consolation to the disinherited of this earth, and to all who suffer, by showing them the just cause of their suffering and the useful purpose of all pain. Right? So we know that Jesus talked in parables and in simple terms. So Spiritism has come to be more straightforward, right? And take off that veil of these stories and just say everything straight up, right? And Jesus knew this because he said, "Listen, all those who have ears to hear," knowing that not everyone has those ears to understand that, right? And not physical ears, but that understanding to be able to comprehend what Jesus was saying, right? He knew not everyone was there. So Spiritism has come to open our ears, right? To open our eyes and truly see what Jesus meant way back when a lot of people didn't understand, right? It was just in stories, and they weren't exactly sure what he was saying. But now we're ready to clarify that, right? And truly understand these teachings and truly get on it and truly start improving ourselves. And Spiritism is also a tool that has come to console us, right? To show us that there's more than just this struggle that we're going through right now. And when you look at the big picture of it, that one little struggle we're going through seems so small. And we know we're going to get past it. And that's great consolation for us, right? That's a great way to help us move on, help us grow. So that's where we'll leave off this week. And then next week we'll continue talking about Christ the Consoler and the promised Consoler. But before we leave off today, I'd like to read our message from the Daily Book of Positive Quotations by Linda Picone for today's date, September 17th. This one's titled New Endings. Though no one can go back and make a brand new start, anyone can start from now and make a brand new ending. We spend a lot of time analyzing the bad decisions we've made, the mistakes we've made, the friends we've hurt. If only we'd been smarter, more patient, or just nicer. We can't change the past, no matter how much we analyze it. But we can move forward in new ways, making better decisions and avoiding the old mistakes, and being nicer to those around us. We have countless opportunities to reinvent or orient ourselves. I don't have to be defined by things I've done in the past. I can make the future what I want it to be. If at all you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to email me at cardiacradioforteens@gmail.com and I'll get back to you right away. I'm Bia, and this has been Cardiac Radio for Teens. Thank you all for listening. This has been Cardiac Radio for Teens. Thank you all for listening.